Kelly the otter, I need you to roll for me again. And this is going to be a strength roll. Otters are not very strong.
Ooh.
So as you slip and slide down this, I need you to roll me a 14 or higher.
A 14? All right. Oh, I got a 13.
Oh. So you slide down and down and down this slippery stone staircase inside of this tree. But what you don't know is that they've left a trap here.
Oh no!
Help! Oh my God, it's crushing me! Oh, famous squirrel!
Let's get this show on the road. Wherever you are, get in your car and come on down, enjoy a show. If it's your first time, we'll jump on in. By the end of this drive, you'll be a Shavian. No, let's get this show on the road.
It's an interesting thing in the summer once shows are up. The work of the performing ensemble is not done. And one of the things that I have been really struck by is when you start talking about understudies.
Yes.
And the role that is so critical to supporting the company members as a team when someone is sick, which I know you can speak to in much more detail having gone through it. But what happened during COVID, right? What happened to our idea of what an understudy is, that you just will go on.
No, these days, if you're given an understudy, you have to work towards the idea that it's going to happen in a way that you probably aren't seeing coming. We're going to talk to Cosette Derome later on in this episode, and she has a story about going on for an understudy in a way that she did not see coming. But yeah, so when we get our contracts here at the festival and often other places, we are given the role that we are going to be playing for the season, as well as a couple understudies. And for anyone who might not know, an understudy is someone who learns the part of someone else's role. So if that person were to get sick or have to go for a family emergency or anything along those lines, the understudy would step in. So you spend most of the rehearsal time on your own with the book, trying to figure out both the lines and the choreography and the blocking of what the person who is playing the part is doing. You'll often shadow them from the side of the rehearsal hall while they're figuring things out. And then there will come a point when we have our understudy rehearsals and you get to plug yourself in and actually do a run of the show.
So you actually get a chance to get in there and do a run.
You do.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right.
The first time that I had to go on for an understudy that I was covering was in Guys and Dolls back in 2013, I think it was. I was covering Sean Wright, who played Nathan Detroit. I have such admiration for Sean Wright. He's probably listening right now. I know this is his favorite thing to do, to listen on a Thursday. So, hey, Sean, shout out. But I got to step in because he had to go attend to some family business on the third preview of our show. We had not had the understudy rehearsals yet. We had not had,
wow.
I don't even think at that point we had had the understudy line run.
Oh, wow.
And this was in a time before when it was a rarity for understudies to have to go on.
Right.
Now, since COVID, we kind of just assumed that we're going to be going on at some point in the season. It's just the nature of the world that we live in now. And we have a very strict and a very a positive health and sickness policy to keep everyone safe. So if you're feeling sick, you stay home and the understudy steps in. So for that, I stepped on and it was a fever dream of,
wow.
I don't even remember what happened. The best advice that I got before I went on, Marla McLean said to me, remember that you can give yourself 5 mistakes. Allow yourself 5 mistakes because you're not going to get it perfect. Forgive yourself instantly. And that I have held on to that really strongly.
That's great advice.
Because it's gonna happen. And yeah, since then I've had the pleasure of getting to go on for some pretty great parts. And learning to do an understudy is a very different muscle. Yeah. Learning how to perform just in your basement without rehearsing off of other actors It's a completely different skill.
It is, and it's similar in the musical theater world. So in the musical theater world, yes, they're understudies, but what we actually have are swings. And so even in our Anything Goes company, every musical we've done here at the Shaw Festival, there are specific performers who are hired as swings, and they will learn multiple parts, so 2 and 3 different roles, so literally dancing in different dances possibly, or different places in the room as you're doing the choreography, and then they will be learning that track, all of those tracks, on the side of the rehearsal hall. And then oftentimes there will be opportunities to swap in, to swing in, as it were. But it's a really interesting thing. I know Stuart McKenzie was doing his swing understudy run for Anything Goes, which I popped in to go and see. And because he swings with Sean Wright and with Jason Cadieux, they're never on stage at the same time. So he was doing his understudy run, doing both parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually was swinging and doing both parts at the same time. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's neuroplasticity right there. Like we are building brain cells at a high rate. And you know what, audiences, I have heard many people say who have been in audiences for understudy when it has been last minute, who do talk about how electrifying that is and how incredible it is to be an audience member. And that it really does, again, come back to this idea that this is a living art form. This is a live, breathing thing that we are experiencing and sharing together in this same moment of time. You're like, okay, let's see what roller coaster ride this will be. But there's joy in that too. I mean, aside from the terror, there's joy and a lot of fun. And I can't wait to talk to both Travis and Cosette and get a little bit of insight of their experiences, both as understudies and having to be understudied and have, someone step in for them, which will be very interesting. And also what I'm really excited about is talking to them about this electricity in the air when you don't know what's going to happen next, which is what the role of Shaw is all about, because you're going on a collective adventure where the audience chooses what the decisions are. Like, where are we going to go? What's our location? What's next?
Yeah. So you will have recognized Travis from his work here. He has been in many plays and musicals. You may recognize him from Brigadoon, Game of Love and Chance, and the title role of The Magician's Nephew.
And the lovely Cosette Derome, who you know very well, Kelly, as...
She's my wife.
You would have seen her in Snow and Midsummer last season, the variety show. Oh, there are some moments, Cosette moments from that variety show that still live inside me and will be absolutely killing it in Murder on the Lake, which is very exciting.
But first, we sat down with TC to ask him about why the role of Shaw. Let's hear what he had to say.
Travis has introduced me to the world of the role-playing game, and the game, as it turns out, is really a kind of self-created adventure in which you are helped, I suppose, or hindered by a master of ceremonies who creates a story and puts you in interesting scenarios and then sees how you deal with it, which is a hugely popular thing in the form of Dungeons and Dragons, but of course has now expanded into all sorts of other role-playing games. And Travis came to me last year with a suggestion to do the role of Shaw. Now, of course, it's become a role of Narnia. It's become rolling the dice to help young people, as I imagine they will be, go through the wardrobe and have an adventure of their own in Narnia. And I saw last year that Travis is brilliant at creating a story with the participants so that they really are choosing which way to go every time there's a fork in the road, and meeting disasters and catastrophes and challenges which are not just pulled out of thin air, but kind of arise from the decisions they made earlier, which of course is one of the principles of good playwriting. Travis should probably try writing a play because he clearly has more of an instinct for it than, for example, I do. But it's a very wonderful thing to watch. It was very wonderful last year to watch people playing Shaw characters in the role of Shaw. And I think this year, with the ability to play characters from Narnia and to go and have an adventure through the wardrobe is a sort of perfect combination of Travis's skills with the attraction of the end of our Narnia series.
That's a great question. What is an RPG? So RPG stands for role-playing game. And specifically what we do at the Roll of Shaw could more specifically be called a TTRPG, which stands for a tabletop role-playing game.
Why do TTRPG? Gosh, I'm down with the kids. Let's
Nailed
go.
it.
Where did the idea for that come from?
I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons since I was 13. Actually, the idea of using a TTRPG in a theatrical context here at the Shaw came out of a very poorly attended performance of a Shaw play I was in. The play started in blackout, and when the lights came up, I'd see all the audience, and it was a direct address. I played a talking germ.
Oh, that was too true to be good.
Perfectly cast. So the lights came up one day. I was out there, I was ready to give my speech, and there were 13 people in the audience. I knew it was 13 because I counted. And not that ticket sales are reflections of if a show is good or not or whatever, but I was like, oh, I love this play and I wish more people would see it or more people felt like Shaw had something to offer them in 2023. That moment kind of got me thinking about like, oh, what could I do as someone who loves Shaw and wants people to come and see what he has to say? What can I do to help with that? So because I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons since I was 13, and playing Dungeons & Dragons was kind of what got me into being in the arts and being an actor and a performer and ultimately a writer. But the first thing it helped me with was reading, because I wasn't like a very strong reader. But all of a sudden I was playing this game that was designed to sort of put you into a fantasy book like Lord of the Rings. It was a wonderful way to get into that kind of literature. So I thought, what if I could do the same thing with Shaw? So I did my master's degree at Brock in comparative literature, with the sort of goal being, can I use role-playing games to teach people about literary figures they don't particularly care about? Or don't even do the investigative work to know they're relevant, because I think so much of what Shaw says is so relevant now, but because he's a long-dead European playwright, a lot of people dismiss him outright without actually doing any research. And that's kind of what the start of this project.
And so, Cosette, what is your connection to RPGs, the role-playing game world in general?
Mine is a much more recent connection. I know my brothers played Dungeons & Dragons when I was younger, but I had no interest in it. And it was only during the pandemic that I was introduced to it. I started playing with Travis and with you, Spike.
In fact, we never met in person.
That's right.
For 2 years, we played.
For 2 years, we would play online. We would meet up over Zoom, and Travis would lead us through campaigns. And it was great. It was a lot of fun, but it was very new for me. And then last year, when Travis was doing Roll of Shaw in the Spiegel tent, I was very lucky to be one of the players a number of times. So I got to play, and, I would play a heroine from Shaw's oeuvre. And that was a lot of fun, too.
So how did you come into this project with Travis this year?
I believe what happened was someone in the upper echelon said, okay, let's put Cosette and Murder on the lake. And where else can we put her? There's nowhere else. Why don't we throw her at Travis's show and see what comes out of that? And I said, yes. And Travis said, fine. And here we are.
Well, okay. I think I got an email from the upper echelon saying, how would you feel about having Cosette in your cast? And I said, I love Cosette. Great friends. I'm not quite sure what she'd be doing. We'll just have to figure out what she'll get up to. And she's been invaluable in this process and an amazing addition to the show. Our cast size has doubled. Eh, Cosette?
100% increase over last year. That's good numbers.
Positive growth.
Maybe the two of you could take us through. What are your roles? What have you put together?
Well, I can start. So my role is I'm the game master. So we have 2 different actors every time who come to play. And they have never done it before. They don't know what they're in for. Varying degrees of experience playing games, different degrees of experience improvising. And it's my job to lead them through the game. So I narrate all the people they meet, and I describe to them the things they see, and I ask them to make decisions about where they want to go. It's kind of like a live choose your own adventure book. And that's my job. So it's very active, and it's sort of on me to encourage the players to make big choices and have a great time and make a coherent story out of it. And that's what I do. What do you do, Cosette?
My job, I would describe as the Vanna of the show.
And for those of us who may not remember Wheel of Fortune, Vanna White turned the letters in the game.
Yeah, an integral part of the show, if you will. So what I do is I run the sound. We have a really fun sort of soundscape that runs underneath the whole show that changes depending on what is happening in the story, what the players decide, what Travis decides. So I run the sound from my little perch, and I also run a 1950s era projector with clear transparencies that you'd put on the thing.
Well, and then during the show, Cosette's very active, because the thing that we've tried to do is strip a Narnia story down to base elements and hang them up around the tent on beautiful, invisible fishing line. So the whole tent looks like a mobile of these floating paper hexagons full of the drawings of fantasy creatures that the audience have done as they are waiting for the show to start. And then when we're playing the game, if the players encounter a monster, Cosette will go and find one that the audience created, and that will be the monster they meet.
So I might come to the role of Shaw, draw a monster, and it might be the monster that shows up in the actual show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And I think the audience enjoys it because it's something I certainly can't have planned. I think the improvised nature of this show is kind of the most interesting part. Audience members like to watch me try and sort out
The solving of how is that actually going to connect in?
Yeah, and it's my favorite part too, because I love walking that tightrope between that preparedness, obviously, that we spent a lot of time working on this structure, but also that like live improv of this is happening now, and the first time I've ever seen it.
I find it's very charming to see people when I hand out the cardboard and the markers, because it's markers and crayons. It's very rudimentary. When I hand them out and instruct them to draw a fantasy creature, they almost always respond, "Oh, I'm not good at drawing. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not good at that." And I say, "Well, do it anyway. Give it a shot. The stakes are low." And then you see them, there's the initial hesitation, but then once they start, they become children again. The delight that people suddenly find themselves really engrossed in this and they get really into their drawings. And then there's a lot of anticipation too. I think they're all kind of hoping that their monster will get chosen for the story.
Oh, so in the initial hesitation, and then it's like, oh, wait, maybe they'll pick mine. People might hear, again, audience participation, or that they're actively involved. And there's oftentimes, again, that perception of, oh, no, I can't. I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to really participate in that way. How do you bridge that gap?
Oh, yeah. No, it's very low impact. Like, you don't need a doctor's note or anything. The way I have thought about this and the seed behind this play and why we chose Narnia was that a young girl wrote to C.S. Lewis and said, "Mr. Lewis, do you have any unfinished Narnia stories? Because I want to read more." And he said, "Yes, I have many unfinished Narnia stories, but I didn't leave them unfinished for me to write. I left them unfinished for you to write." So there's an element of that in this project, in that I want this to be a new Narnia story created by everyone in the tent. The audience is just as part of the spirit of Narnia as me or Cosette, or the two players, but no one is dragged onto stage. The audience participation is more in the pre-show. They draw the monsters, they create that world, but they're not actively called on stage to tap dance.
I will also say something I've noticed that Travis does really well with running this game is that every answer is a right answer. Everything that a player suggests is correct, is yes, that is what happens. Or that's what you try to do. Let's roll and see if you succeed. Likewise, everything the audience offers is right. When we ask someone, "Can you tell us about your monster?" whatever they say is what happens in the story. It eliminates that fear of getting it wrong. I think people generally are afraid of audience participation because they don't want to look foolish. They don't want to look silly. They don't want to look dumb. But we don't really have that. So anything they say is, it works. It's great. Yes, let's go with that. And I think once people get that sense, then the fear dissipates and they become just ready to play and enjoy themselves.
So Travis, if I had never played an RPG game before, where do you start?
Okay, actually, you know what? Why don't we play a bit? Why don't I show you exactly how this works?
Right now?
Yep. So Kelly, Alexis,
Travis.
you are going to be two brave Narnian animals. Can you choose me a woodland creature of any kind? Each of you, just pick one. Kelly, what do you want to be?
Oh, I'll be an otter.
Brilliant. An otter. How about you, Alexis?
I'll be a squirrel.
You'll be a squirrel. Oh, great. So we have an otter. We have a squirrel. Mr. Otter, Miss Squirrel. The two of you find yourselves out in the forest. And because this is the 100-year winter of the White Witch, it is always winter, always, always night. And the wind howling even through these trees as the two of you make your way bravely through the snowdrifts. Now you have come out here following wolf tracks.
Oh.
Okay.
Because a good friend of yours has gone missing. You went over to his house, door was kicked in, wolf tracks leading out through the forest. Now, as the two of you follow these tracks in a desperate search to find your friend, I'm going to get each of you to roll for me to see if you notice something. Now, an otter, very, very intelligent. So, Kelly, you're going to need 5 or up on your 20-sided die. So the odds are pretty good you're going to get this.
Okay, I have a 20-sided die right here with me. Should I roll this
And
right now?
and we're going to make Alexis roll at the same time. Now, squirrels,
okay.
a bit more frenetic, less focused,
Mm-hmm.
have a harder time noticing things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to need you to roll a 14 or up, Alexis.
Okay.
So ready?
Ooh.
1, 2, 3, roll.
All right.
What'd you get, Kelly?
I got an 8.
Good. You succeed. How about you?
I got a 19.
Brilliant. So the two of you succeed. You succeed. So as you're walking, following these wolf tracks, you see that the wolf tracks lead up to a tree and then they stop. Now,
What?
because of your successful roll, you notice there's a little knob in this tree that looks a little out of place. What do you want to do?
I want to.
I want to
wanna
open
push
that
on it.
door.
So,
Oh, you want to push? I want to pull.
so immediately, Alexis the squirrel runs up, pushes on it, door swings open. Kelly pulls on the knob, swings closed. And then Alexis the squirrel pushes on it one more time, and you see that actually in this tree, there are stairs leading down the trunk of this tree, and you can smell mildew, wet drips cover these walls. This is a fake tree. What do you two want to do?
Oh, I want to go down those
Yeah.
stairs. I live in the water. I'm not afraid of mildew
Oh,
or
you love it.
dampness.
You slide down these stairs like a water slide.
Yeah.
You, chest first. Boom, is a circular staircase, and you head right down. But Kelly the otter, I need you to roll for me again. And this is going to be a strength roll. Otters are not very strong.
Ooh.
So as you slip and slide down this, I need you to roll me a 14 or higher.
A 14? All right. The odds may forever be in my favor. Oh, I got a 13.
Oh.
So you slide down and down and down this slippery stone staircase inside of this tree. But what you don't know is that they've left a trap here, and you go right through it.
Oh no.
There's a tripwire, and you hit it right with your otter noggin, and it triggers a stone collapse above you, and you're buried beneath the rubble. And Alexis, you haven't gone down these stairs yet, but you see your best friend take off, and then you hear what sounds like a tunnel collapse. What do you do?
Help! Oh my God, it's crushing me! Oh, they miss a squirrel!
I'm coming. I have to get down there as fast as possible, and I'm small, so can I fit through the rocks?
So you sprint down
Yeah.
these steps. They're slippery.
Yeah.
They're really
I'm on the
slippery.
side of the wall. I'm going on the side of the wall.
Ooh, the walls are slippery too.
Oh, shoot.
So, but you're a good climber. So I need you to just make me a strength roll. You're not
Yep.
bad. You're
Okay.
pretty strong. You're pretty good at this kind of stuff. So 5 or over.
Okay. 18. Ooh, it's
Oh
a
my
hot
God,
dice.
you are
Amazing.
like spider squirrel, parkouring from one
Yes.
wall to the other
Ding,
as you
ding,
head-
ding.
and you get down there. And these are huge stones, and you just see sticking out from one of these stones an otter tail. Mr. Otter, he's in there. You heard him yelling. But as you approach these stones and you go to start to move them, walking over the other side is an enormous white wolf. And he looks at you and he says, "Well, I haven't eaten squirrel for a long time." And then he charges you, and that's where we're going to end.
Oh, cliffhanger. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so much
no,
fun.
Are we going to meet up later and finish this, please?
Yeah, so that's a very brief representation of what we do at the show. We always call it half audio drama, half Yahtzee, because the die rolls you made influenced everything that happened.
It's such a collective adventure. You feel so invested so quickly.
Poor Mr. Otter.
Oh.
He got a little too cocky for his own good.
He's like, water, perfect. I know about water.
Yeah.
I want to change gears just a little bit because, as with any good RPG, I would love to know both of your origin stories. How did you get started in theater? How did you find your way to the Shaw Festival? Travis, I'm going to start with you. How did you get to be here?
I was a ballet dancer before. I moved away from my hometown of Kingston, Ontario when I was 14 to go to the National Ballet School in Toronto. Then I found music theater, doing singing, dancing, doing musicals. Then I got sort of my first job. I was a dancer on a cruise ship.
Okay, what cruise ship? What
The
cruise
party
line?
one, the Carnival cruise line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 20 years old, hitting the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
Heaven on earth. It was an absolute blast. And I came back and then I sort of booked my first Canadian theater gig at Stratford, doing the musicals there. I had a great time. The next year, I came to Shaw, and staying at Shaw, I did more and more plays. So I sort of went from a ballet dancer who started doing musicals to a musical dancer, singer who started doing plays. And then I took a year off from Shaw to train at the Banff Center in their acting conservatory. And then I came back to Shaw the next year. That was TC's first year. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of work as a musician in on-stage roles, playing guitars and mandolins and basses and sort of the stringed instruments. And then this opportunity came up for Royal Shaw, and I became a writer. So I guess my origin story is wild and varied.
Yeah. Just going through the whole gamut of everything, really. And it feels like a really natural evolution. Because I think in your spirit of creating with the audience, this kind of like everything is a yes. I mean, it feels like you also create that yes environment as you approach your work as an artist.
Yeah, I was thinking of myself as being sort of like artistically omnivorous. Like there's nothing I won't try.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, and I felt that whatever my interests were that were sort of naturally occurring to me always fed back into my work somehow. Even, playing all these role-playing games or getting interested in playing instruments led into composition work eventually. And even the things that I never thought would impact theater work, they definitely impact the way I think, which is very helpful creatively. Those new inputs always make me feel more creative. So, and I've been very lucky that I've had 2 plays put on at the Shaw Festival. I never thought about being a playwright.
That's amazing. Okay, Cosette, where's your origins? How did you get into all of this theater stuff?
Let's see. I started, I knew performing was what I wanted to do from a very young age. So I went to an arts high school in Ottawa and then to theater school at TMU, which is Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson University. Went through there. And then I had, I would say, 2 parallel careers. One as an actor, working in very small, minimally to not at all funded theater productions in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Most theater, yeah.
Yes, yeah, most theater, yeah. Very self-produced kind of thing. And at the same time, I was very lucky to have a parallel career as a stunt performer, working on big productions across Canada. Film and TV productions, I mean. So that was kind of a funny double life that I lived for a long time, but it worked for me. It's a lot of fun. They're both very satisfying in very different ways. And then I met this hunky dude named Kelly Wong. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, if I know who that is.
I've heard of him. He sounds
was a
pretty
young actor
hunky.
at the Shaw Festival. And we met through a mutual friend and we started dating, and then we were like, hey, what's going on? And we got married. We got a place in Toronto, and then we decided to have a kid. So we sold the place in Toronto and we moved out to Niagara-on-the-Lake. And Kelly was at the festival and I was sort of Shaw adjacent. I was Kelly's +1 at the festival. So I knew a lot of people But it wasn't until last year, 2 years ago now, I guess, I was doing some farming with Jenny Wright. We were hosing off some of my beehives.
Because you are a beekeeper.
I am also a beekeeper,
everything.
recreational, yes, just on the side. So we were standing there in our rain boots and our mucky clothes, hosing chicken poop off of my bee frames. And she said, "Why aren't you auditioning for the Shaw Festival?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I tried decades ago. That's not, I don't think." And she was like, "Well, why not? You're here. What's your problem?" She might have said it more nicely than that, but she also might
Doubt
not
it.
have, Jenny
Knowing
Wright.
Jenny.
Exactly, knowing Jenny. So I thought, why aren't I auditioning for the Shaw Festival? So I looked online and they happened to have just put out a casting call for Snow and Midsummer. I submitted my stuff to the producers and said I'd like to be considered. And they said nothing. Then, months later, they said, okay, send us a self-tape. And then I got a call. So I was in. That was my first season doing Snow and Midsummer and the Shaw Variety Show. And that was just last year.
You also have an understudy superpower, if I'm not mistaken. And something that actually took place this season. And I'm wondering if you could share the story
sure.
of the emergence of your understudy superpower.
I don't know if it's superpowers so much as it is understudy had to do it and so did it. But we were in rehearsal for Murder on the Lake. And that day was opening night for Tons of Money, in which I have 2 understudy tracks. We're doing our stuff. We're talking. My watch, I have an Apple Watch that sends me notifications. My watch was buzzing. And I was like, that's really weird. What's going on? And it was buzzing a lot. So I peeked. There was a bit of a lull in rehearsal. And I peeked at my watch and I saw I had 2 missed calls from Amy Jewell, who is the stage manager for Tons of Money. And when the stage manager for the show in which you were understudying calls you, then it's time to start sweating.
Yeah. And we all looked over and we're like, why did Cosette get so pale?
Yeah.
So quickly.
That's when the adrenaline and the blind panic starts. So I sort of...
And what time of the night was it? Like what time, if there was an 8 p.m. show, what time was your watch buzzing?
It was an 8 p.m. show and my watch started buzzing at 7:15, 45 minutes to curtain. My watch starts buzzing. So I sneak away, grab my phone, go into the hallway and call Amy and say, "Hey, Amy, what's going on?" And she says, "Okay, so listen, Julia is unwell. She's not able to do the show. Marla is going to cover her track. So we need you to come in and do Marla's track. You will play Simpson the maid. Get here."
Oh my gosh.
And I said, okay. I said, "I don't have a car, but I'll walk over," because I was at one space and they were at the George. "I'll walk over." She said, "No, Dora will drive you." And then Dora, our stage manager for Murder on the Lake, burst through the door and said, "Get your bag. I've got my keys. Let's go." So I went in to get my bag and everyone else in the room was like, "What's going on?" And I said, I have to go. I have to go do the show. I have to go do the show now. Okay, bye. Oh my God. Grabbed my bag, ran out the door, jumped into Dora's car. I stumble out the door, downstairs into the basement. Everyone's getting ready. And then just a team of the best people, the running crew at the George, they swarm all around me. Get my hair done, get makeup on. Here, we've got this costume. Let me zip it up for you. Put these tights on, blah, blah, blah. Into the heels. Little to no pretense of a vocal warm-up. Because Simpson the maid opens the show. When the curtain rises,
gosh.
She is the
It's
first
you.
one. I am the first one trip-trapping
my
across the
gosh.
stage with my wig and my little funny hat. And then I've got to do that. So I did
Wow.
that. Yeah. It was very exciting.
That's an incredible story. And
Thanks.
so fitting, these moments when you just have to drop everything and change gears, recalibrate and get out there and do our job, which is extraordinary. And I have to say, you slid in there so seamlessly. It was like this had been your 10th performance or something. Like it was so smooth. So
Thank you. Big props to Marla as well, to Marla McLean, who had to cover a much heavier role than I did. She had to slip into the lead and carry the whole show.
that's so great. Travis, do you have any understudy stories up your sleeve stick out for you?
Sure. I mean, having sort of apprenticed at the Shaw, you do a lot of learning by understudying. So I learned tons and tons and tons just by covering those huge parts. I'm trying to think of Well, Kelly was the lead of an amazing play called The Clearing. And Kelly, please step in if I get something wrong or I've inflated this in the years that have gone by.
The more you've inflated it, the better a story it'll be.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Do that.
I think sometimes, like, I'll tell a story and Kelly will be like, I remember that story when it was true. So Kelly was in this amazing play called The Clearing, which I'd seen. I was not involved in any way, shape, or form with this play. I'd seen it and loved it.
So you were not understudying it?
No, of course not. Then the story would be way lamer. There was illness in the cast. 2 cast members went down, and their 2 understudies went down. And I think I wrote to your stage manager, Kelly, or someone. I said, I just, if I can help in any way. Kelly, I think it was like the morning of, I got a call from Alan Teichman, and he said, all right, come on in. I think the thought was I'd play Dante's part. And Dante was playing the kind of part that if it were at Stratford, it would have been 5 people. He had a million costume changes. He moved every bit of set. He had 4 different parts within the play. So I watch as much of the video as I can. And then I was like, all right, well, let's just give it our best shot. And saying the assistant stage manager was in the wings, saying, you run out there, you grab that big chair and come right back. I was like, oh, great. Sounds straightforward. And I ran out. And then Kelly Wong is walking on stage with a flaming torch. And I was like,
Yeah, it was literally like a torch of fire. We were so appreciative of Travis because we had, up until the 11th hour, we had no choice but to cancel that show. But Travis, I don't know if there's been anyone else who has stepped in that type of role with that type of physical demand at such late notice. He literally saved the show. And I have never seen Travis so calm before. The amazing thing about it was like all of a sudden he's just the most grounded, focused. Not to say that you're not. I don't want to say that you're not normally, but you had this wave of calm that came over you. It's like, I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to do that job.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I mean, I loved that show so much. It was my favorite show that year, and it would have killed me if any performances had been canceled.
That's awesome. I have one last question for Travis before we start to wrap things up here. Because, Travis, you dove into writing the theme song for us.
Yeah.
And I know you and Kelly worked back and forth with it a little bit, but I mean, that's just the yes person you are, we're like, hey, we're going to make this podcast. We need a theme song. It's going to be called this. Like, what was that? What is that journey? And also fun. Just how did you guys work together to develop it?
So I was very, I did composition projects for the variety show last year, the Shaw Variety Show, where I wrote an opening song, closing song, and music for a song that Cosette had written, sort of backing accompaniment. I'd had a wonderful time writing on assignment. I found it much, much easier. So when I was asked to write the theme song for this show, I was like, amazing. I have an assignment. I have a clear task, and it's got to be 17 seconds long. Cool. What a fun challenge. Because I feel like I love creative limitations. Like I love a container. Because when I'm trying to write on my own, if I just sit in a room with my guitar or whatever, I feel like I'm adrift. But when I'm given an assignment, amazing. I felt like I'm at the side of the pool with something to push off of. So I recorded the draft, and then Kelly and I went back and forth. Kelly, I didn't think you were sold on it at the beginning. I wasn't sure.
I was sold on it when I heard it. When I first heard the idea of a theme song with lyrics, that wasn't what I envisioned originally. I hadn't imagined to say a jingle isn't necessarily right, but I hadn't imagined
it's absolutely a jingle.
It's a jingle because it's contained within 15 seconds. It gets in your ear and it does not leave.
Oh my God, it does not leave.
But as soon as I heard it, I'm like, this is exactly what we need. This fits the tone. And then also all the incidental music that you hear in the show is Travis as well. The transition music, when he speaks of just saying yes and just throwing himself in there, we must have come up with close to 20 different drafts of different songs. They were all varied. He gave me a version that kind of sounded like, you named it Eminem. There was a Coldplay version. There was an 80s rock version.
And then there was All Panic, No Disco. I'd never written instrumental underscoring before, so I tried to find genre direction. It was a joy working with Kelly. He's an amazing project manager, and I felt like I had clear direction. We were so collaborative. It was so much fun. We had a little Google Drive. I'm like, check out the weird one I just made. I don't think it'll make it, but I think you'll get a laugh.
It was great.
Which was like the like M&M's.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah.
The final question for you both. You can have a little think about it.
No thinking. Cosette, answer right away.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
the answer is yes.
Yeah, I also say no.
No. See, I should have got you both to
12.
roll for this. No.
Maybe.
See, if I had just gotten you to roll for this.
Texas.
I'm going to do a double whammy because I'm going to go see Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And then I'm going to come to the role of Shaw. What's something that I could look out for that I'd be like, oh, I heard that on the podcast?
Through the Wardrobe, Rolla Shaw is set right before Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in the dark, dark, dark winter during the rule of the White Witch, Queen Jadis, trying to see how the animals survived before the Pevensey children arrived. And that if you come and see our show, you might get to see a young Jadis and the way in which she ruled Narnia.
Aside from that, I would say there probably won't be many Easter eggs that we could tell you to listen for because the show is made up every time. We don't know what's going to happen or who you will encounter or what shenanigans are going to go down.
You will get to see two actors who you may see in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
So these are actors from the company?
Actors from the company, yeah.
Okay.
So our next show, which, I mean, this podcast will probably go up much later, but you'll see Michael Terrio, who plays Mr. Tumnus in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, taking on a different Narnian character. So you'll get to see some wonderful crossover for those actors to show how versatile they are.
That's amazing. Well, this has been a thrilling chat with my lovely friends. So thank you so much for joining us, telling us about Roll of Shaw, the TTRPG world, and how you got to be here at the Shaw Festival. This has been a really lovely chat. Thank you both for coming.
Thanks, Mike.
for having us.
The Role of Shaw is playing until September 25th. Tickets available at shawfest.com.
Thank you to Travis, Seetoo and Cosette Derome for joining us. And thank you, as always, for listening. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to say hello, drop us a line at podcast@shawfest.com.
Let's Get This Shaw on the Road is hosted by Alexis Milligan and edited and produced by me, Kelly Wong. Original music by Travis Seetoo. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to us now. Follow the show to get new episodes in your feed every Thursday, and if you're enjoying it, leave us a review. It helps others discover the show and join in on the conversation.
Next week, we are joined by Sochi Freed and Bruce Horak. We'll chat about their character research for the incredible thriller, Wait Until Dark.
We'll see you then.
Let's get this Shaw on the road. Everyone get in your car and come on down, enjoy a show. If it's your first time, we'll jump on in. By the end of this drive, it'll be a shave, you know. Let's get this Shaw on the road.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yay!